Welcome back to another episode of Dreamcatchers Presents the Jason Smith Show, where we don't chase dreams, nah. We catch them. And who am I here with today? Today is a very, very, very special episode. Why? Because quite frankly, I got the Milwaukee County executive. I have a beast. I have a inspiration personified. I have influence. I have prestige. Who do I have sitting next to me right here on the Jason Smith Show? I have Milwaukee County exec David Crowley. David, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing well. And with that introduction, I'm like, how much I owe you, man? Because that's a great introduction.
No,
I appreciate you.
Man.
Appreciate you. Glad to be here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I'm super stoked that you're sitting here. Because honestly, I remember filling out the email to get you on the show.
For sure.
I was with Joe. I was like, bro, hey, well, we gonna be able to do it, man. We gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna fill this out, and we gonna see, man. We gonna see. And when I got the reply, I was so ecstatic because obviously, bro, being a black man,
for sure,
we born and raised in Milwaukee, it's always powerful and amazing to see black men in positions of power, in high positions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I thank you for even taking time. Come on now. I know you busy. The fact you took time out to come sit with me, I truly, truly appreciate it.
Man, look, man. So first and foremost, it's an honor to be here with you. I mean, to see, someone born and raised in this community trying to do something, not just for himself, but uplift the community in some type of way. And when I say uplift, it's not just like you're utilizing your platform to give voice to the voiceless, to give credence to those who are in position, but also to introduce folks like myself to your listeners. So it is more of an honor for me that you thought about me to be in this space, but it's also an honor to be able to contribute back to someone who looks just like me you got the same type of drive, same position as me at your age, trying to do something better. So I appreciate what you have allowed for me to be a part of.
No, thank you so much. That means a lot, obviously,
for
coming
sure.
from you. But David, I like to start off every interview, every podcast episode the same way. I like to ask a specific question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the dream?
What is the dream? So, honestly, Jason, that's probably one of the hardest questions I've ever received because, the dream never is the same. It always changes. But for me, since I've been a little kid, born and raised in the 53206 zip code, the dream for me has always been changing the narrative, changing the perception of how people viewed me and the people who look like me. The dream has always been, how do I bring more people to the table? And how do I give a little bit more power to the folks who look like me because we've never had it? And so the dream has always been making sure that once I am off this earth, once I am no longer here and have expired, that the dream continues to live on through others. And so my dream is the same as Malcolm. It's the same as Martin. It's making sure that we are accepted, but also making sure that we have every opportunity to give back to our families, to this entire community, and making sure that we are not the first and never the last to continue the work moving forward.
Man, what you just said, when you saying changing the narrative and changing the perception of how people view you, that is precisely one of my goals. Like, the reason why I have my hair like this, the reason why you can't see, but when I came in here first, started here, I'm wearing earrings, I got chains, I got my hair like this, specifically because, I wanted people to understand that does not define somebody's character. Because when I talk and when I have that on, but then you hear me talk and we can have a conversation, you understand that I'm educated and you understand that I have intellect. But to try to put us in a box because of our culture,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because of how we like to look
That's
and because
true.
how we like to dress, that's a problem. And that's why, for example, going to different schools and stuff, speaking to kids for them to understand, bro, you can make that happen. You can believe it. If you believe it. Where did you get the drive to want to to change the narrative? Where did that come from?
Well, what helped me out was it was a youth organization called Urban Underground. I still think about two of the biggest mentors I've had in my life, in Reggie and Charlene Moore. And that drive really came from them showing me something that I'd never seen before. I mean, growing off of 23rd and Burleigh, it was just like, I only knew my block. I only knew what Milwaukee was showing me. And if you've never seen something, you've never aspired to be that. And so, like, don't get me wrong, my father and my mother, they were great mentors of mine as well. But they also had their own issues. Both of my parents suffered from both drug addiction and mental health in some capacity. And it's not to say that I couldn't look at them, but it was Reggie and Charlene who showed me what it's like to be a doctor, what it's like to be a lawyer. And not that they were doctors and lawyers themselves, but what they did through Urban Underground is that they gave me a different level of exposure that I've never would have had if I just would have continued to be at the same school or continued to stay in the same block and continue to do the same thing that I just knew. And so when I got exposed to more things, it gave me the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm about to take advantage of all these opportunities that come in my way. Whether I know it or not, feel dumb or stupid, I'm just going to go out there and give it everything that I can, because I just knew in that moment what they were showing me is that you don't know if you don't try. You don't know if you don't go research. And so for me, it was more so about, you know what, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to take advantage of these opportunities. Started doing some community organizing. That's how I got involved in politics, because I wanted to change the lives of those that I was serving. I wanted to change the lives of the folks that I lived on the same block with. And when Reggie and Charlene, basically, Reggie said something to me that was profound, and I was just working there, and he said to me, David, you got great ideas. He said, the problem is that you start a lot of stuff, but you never finish anything. And that stuck with me 12, 20 years after that first conversation. And it let me know that as black people, as a black man growing up in the city of Milwaukee, there's so many things that I just have to do. But what's more important is not me starting them. It's actually finishing the job. And that's one of the reasons why I got involved in actually public service, because in order to finish the job is to create policies that we know they're going to make a meaningful impact on not just my girls' lives, but my daughter's lives, but those who are around me. And so it was being involved in that program which helped spark that dream and got me on my journey.
See more to be more. That is like one of the phrase that I love, because representation is everything. Yeah. How would you cannot blame, for example, people who live in the hood, like some of my family members in the hood. Mm-hmm. That's all they know. Like, they're in that bubble because that's literally all they know. Yeah. A lot of them ain't even been downtown. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they don't even know.
We got folks who have never seen the lakefront, right?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, so if you're in that bubble and that's all you know and you're not seeing, that's why people like you are powerful. People like Mayor Cavalier Johnson is so powerful because half of Milwaukee is black. So if people, kids like me, younger than me, can look up and see, dang, bro, our mayor and Milwaukee County exec, you know what I'm saying? They can powerful. Do that. And then you saying you from 53206 too? Yeah.
You say from the hood?
You from the hood. You know, like, come on now. So, like, you understand. So that's why, man, I don't want this to just be a whole thank you, but no, I truly appreciate it. So when you're coming from 503-206, you're dreaming of making basically Milwaukee a better place, your city, helping out the community. Politics, how did politics come into play?
That's a great question, because I never really knew anything about politics. And so when I got involved in Urban Underground, we did a lot of community organizing. Matter of fact, I was a junior in high school, Bayview High School. That's where I graduated. And while we were there, there was a young lady who had got killed by her boyfriend. She got killed by her boyfriend because she wasn't wearing his ring. It was a promise ring, and it was a teen domestic violence situation. And so we started organizing around teen domestic violence. But it wasn't just about teen domestic violence and what was affecting young women at the time. We knew that there were a lot of young men who kept having encounters with law enforcement. So we started a community justice council, where we were literally on our bikes, because I ain't have a license, I ain't had no car. I'm on my bikes, driving, riding around, giving people cards about what their rights and responsibilities are if they encounter law enforcement, whether they're in their car, whether they're walking down the street, whether they're within their home, because we wanted to teach people how to keep themselves safe when encountering law enforcement, because a lot of times if you don't have that level of trust, you don't have these types of conversations. And so as I began to do community organizing, I seen myself talking to a lot of elected officials. And so when we were talking about crime and things of that nature, I seen myself talking to the mayor or talking to, a common council member, one of our aldermen or a city councilman. And then when it came down to education, right, we'll be talking to the school board members or going to the state to talk about criminal justice issues because the state controlled the policies that were literally sending young people to jail. And here in the state of Wisconsin, the first policy that I was focused on related to the criminal justice realm was how do we raise the age back to where 17-year-olds are no longer considered adults, and if they do get caught doing something they shouldn't be doing, they can at least go back to the juvenile justice system and get the rehabilitation that they need. And I can continue to see myself talking to elected officials, and so one of my mentor, matter of fact, Reggie Moore, was talking to one of the former aldermen, Joe Davis, and there was an opportunity working for then United States Senator Russ Feingold. And Joe Davis reached out to Reggie about, hey, they're looking for a young black person to work as the statewide organizer to help get him reelected. And then I got a call from Reggie Moore. Now, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I was working, if I'm not mistaken, I was working at Safe and Sound as a community partner at the time. And I remembered something that a mentor of mine said, and that was Dr. Howard Fuller. He said, sometimes you have to leap before you look. And when it came down to that position, I said, you know what? My family's been talking about politics. I'm always talking to politicians. I think, this is an opportunity for me to get involved in politics, and that's what I did. And so I worked not only here in Milwaukee, but I was working in Racine County. I was in Dane County. I'm in Kenosha County. I'm in Sheboygan. I'm in Green Bay in Appleton, the Fox Cities area, and realized that this is something that I like doing. And now the rest is history to where I worked for Russ Feingold. I started working for another elected official at the same county board that I'm now the county executive of. And it became a full circle. So I worked for a year and a half at the county board level for Nakia Harris at the time. She became a state senator. And she said, you know what, David, I want you to come with me. So I moved to Madison for the year. She got married. Now Nakia died, and I'm working for her in the state senate. And worked for her and just continued to learn a game related to politics. And then I got bit by that bug myself and then decided to actually run for office. And I would tell folks that, when I ran for office, everything wasn't peachy. Matter of fact, the first time I ran was city council, and I lost. I got my butt handed to. And then almost 30 days later, I had the opportunity to enter another race running for state assembly. And I won this seat with 57% of the vote during the primary. And the rest is somewhat history. Chair of the Black Caucus, chair of the Milwaukee delegation, and did that for 3.5 years, serving at the state level, working across the aisle to get major pieces of legislation done. And then this seat opened up for me to run for county executive. And again, leap before I looked. And, now I'm not only the youngest, but the first African-American to be elected to this seat.
Legendary. And it all started riding a bike.
It all started riding a bike.
I started with a bike. Because, that's just remarkable because I'm not going to lie.
You know what? I never thought about it that way, but, it did.
I know me. Listen, if I was your age around that time, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I'll be riding around handing people cards, telling them the best ways to react or the best methods to go. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
that's remarkable. The fact that you had that presence of mind to be like, this was just in your blood. Politics, honestly, because you've been doing it. That is political, right there.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because you said something that only one other person has said to me. And that was my mother. And I lost my mom. We had a great relationship. And I lost my mom last year. And she used to say some of the most outlandish stuff to me. And I'm like, whatever, Mom. And then, now that she's gone, I start thinking back. She used to say that I've been getting you prepared for this for I don't know how many years. She's like, all that yelling I did with you, it was to make sure you had thick skin. But it was just like, all right, Mom.
It was the master plan.
It was the master plan. Let her say it. But yeah, I appreciate that.
You needed that, in all honesty, though. And it's crazy because I'm still I'm only 24, so I don't want to say what. But when I look back, honestly, when I look back and I just look at how I was raised, in the moment you're not thinking of the future outcomes of
real.
it. You just stuck into it. I'm wondering why.
You're just doing the work.
You feel what I'm saying?
You're just doing the work.
You just doing it. And now I just look back and all of the seeds that were planted from my family, I mean, it's honestly all manifesting from them. Like they planted the seed, now it's just growing.
You know, the thing is that the way I look at it is that, you know, my mother, you know, turned that field into a gravel road, and it was my job to now, you know, put asphalt over it, make it much smoother, right? And so she paved that way for me. And so I made it much smoother, not just for myself, but now I think about my 3 girls, right? I think about folks like yourself who's coming after me. My job, being the first person to look like me in this seat, is making sure I'm not the last. It's about making sure that we can continue to move forward, that we can continue to make progress. And so, you know, I know what she laid down for me. I know what my ancestors did to lay down the road for her. And just understanding that this journey that I'm on is not just all about me. It's about those who are coming after me. And that's where the true fruits of our labor really come that we see come to bear, is that when we're planting these seeds, as you was talking about, you know, they're for everybody else to be able to enjoy, not necessarily myself. And so when we think about that forest, somebody created that forest way before we came along, but now we have the opportunity to just understand how righteous and how beautiful it is, and making sure that we preserve it for the next generation. And that's how I look at my life.
That's what it's about, man. That's literally what it's about. And I hear you talking about like your mom and your childhood a lot. If you could describe your childhood in 3 words, what would you say?
Rough, rough, and rough. Like, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, when I talk about my you know, growing up, you know, dealing with drug addiction, dealing with housing insecurity, you know, 2 years we were evicted, you know, 3 times. You know, for 15 years of my life, I moved every year of my life.
Wow.
You know, I mean, the only stability that I literally had was the 3 Milwaukee public schools I've been to, Our Avenue, Meck Middle School, and Bayview High School. And what came after that was Urban Underground. That helped solidify my foundation growing up. And that's what also helped me understand how to go back, one, to forgive my mother and father what I was going through. But it was rough. Everything wasn't necessarily easy. But I also understand, like, well, I could talk about how rough my life is. Like, I'll tell you on the air, like, growing up, my nickname was Dirty. You know what I mean? Like, we you know, we tried everything under the sun. We did a lot of different things. And like, when I talk to young black men, I tell them all the time that they just see themselves in me. Like, don't assume that I grew up in rural or suburban Wisconsin. I grew up in the exact same, you know, rough neighborhoods that many of these folks have. But I will say that that's also what sets us up for success, because we've been through the trenches, you know. And if you actually think about it, like, you know, black men, you know, especially young, you know, we talk about like we in warfare every day.
Every day.
You know what I mean? And we are. But we also have to realize that we have an opportunity to make it out. You know, and what are we going to do to make sure that those coming after us don't have to live in the same warfare on the same times that we did? And so that's why I decided I was going to get involved in public service. This community saved my life. What better way to give back than giving through public service? No matter what level that is, I believe in giving my time, giving my talent, or giving my treasure in whatever capacity that I can to make sure that we're uplifting our community.
The beautiful thing is the fact that you're able to spot opportunity. So you realize, okay, my familiar situation, I mean, it's not the best right now.
Yep.
So I need to seek other avenues. Okay, I need to go to another program. Okay, I got to get this mentor here. Okay, now stuff's starting to go. I think that a lot of times people get so trapped, not even just people this is really with anybody. People get so trapped in their head and their thoughts in their current situation that they're not, their eyes, the flashlight is not open to seeing opportunity. You saw opportunity, a way that you can make an impact in the community, the way that you can uplift others and show that I'm not the first. I mean, I am the first, but I'm not going to be the last.
I'm not going to be the last.
You know what I'm saying? That's an amazing mission to have. So when you think about your childhood and you think about where you're at right now, how do you define success?
I think the definition of success, it changes as you grow older, right? Because success for me was, and success still is being able to be the greatest father, right? Being able to be the greatest husband, being able to be the greatest county executive, being able to be the greatest mentor, right? And so the way I measure success is, overall is that I want to be able to give back to this community and people can, when I die can say he was a good man. But also, I think about how my journey continues and where I am throughout this journey. Each milestone that I reach, I want to be able to say I am on my way. And so as a young person, it was more so like, okay, I want to make sure I get a good job, right, and be able to pay rent on my own. I was able to get that, right? All right, now I'm a young person. I got my own place. I got my own bills in my own name, and I'm doing it legally. Okay, well, I want to make a little bit more money. Well, I was able to do that, right? Well, now it's like, okay, I want to have a wife. I want to have kids. All right. I want to be able to give back to this entire community. So my success is measured based off of the milestones that I'm reaching, as I age. But because success is not just about me, right? Success is those who are also around me. And so I think that the greatest way to build success, the greatest way to build power is to give a little bit of away. And so the more and more that I can build the credibility of those who are around me, who are doing greater and bigger things, the more successful I am. Because I've been able to use not only my position, but my stature to make sure that I am not the only one benefiting. And so my success is based off of how many other folks are growing around me and because of me. And that's how I've been able to measure my success. But I think that as an elected official, that's the only way to measure your success, because my success is not just about me, it's the success of our entire community.
And winning alone, nobody wants to win alone. I don't know. Winning alone sucks. It's
lonely at the top, man.
It's J. Cole said, what's the point of sitting first class if my brothers can't sit?
Exactly.
Exactly. This is I wouldn't even want to do this if I didn't have my brother right here. Right. You feel what I'm saying? This is a connection. This is a bond. We're growing together. We're winning together. We go experience all of these things, all of the successes together.
Yes.
And then the fact that you're a politician, so you're the voice, the face of an entire county, and your goal, even though you have your personal goals, the main goal is your family. The main goal is your community, and I think that's what's most minimal. That is what's most remarkable. The fact that you can stay centered. You know what I'm saying? Understand your foundation, because I think somebody could have got in your shoes and became Milwaukee County exec and could have said, forget everything else. Listen,
it's easy to get drunk off of power, right? And when you get in a position, you can go a totally another way because you're like, oh man, I could do what?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just like, this ain't about me.
Yeah.
This is much bigger than me. Matter of fact, one of my favorite songs is, This Is Bigger Than Me by Big Sean. Because I think about all the people, particularly those that I grew up with that I didn't lost. I think about all those who I grew up with that's in jail. And I think to myself, the work that I'm doing is much bigger than me. I want everybody to be proud of the work that I am doing, because it's going to benefit them in some capacity.
And I think that you're accomplishing that, and I think it's going to happen much more success is going to come. But with being Milwaukee County exec, with being a father, with being a husband, how do you practice self-care?
Man, I don't even know how to answer that.
Man, I can't even begin to imagine.
So honestly, one of the first and foremost, never forgetting where I came from, right? And so, my godparents are still on 10th and Burleigh, so whenever I get a chance, I still go down there. I still go down in the hood and still go talk to my people. But I'll tell you, a lot of the times, I'm still also a big kid at heart, so give me my PlayStation 5.
I feel it.
Let me play a little, a few video games, because there are times when you have to force yourself to unplug. It can be unhealthy when you immerse yourself into all the dangers of politics, all the dangers in the world, all the dangers of the rhetoric, because you can't please everybody. Matter of fact, my dad still tells me to this day, the fastest road to failure is to please everyone. And so sometimes I got to take a step back and unplug. And I could do that by, chilling in my backyard with my 3 young girls and just having a good time. And we'll do karaoke night in the backyard, or me going into my man cave in the basement and pulling out my PS5, or watching some HBO Max or whatever it is. But also, I would tell anybody that sometimes you just got to unplug. Anybody, you can't take care of nobody else until you can take care of yourself first. And so if you're not finding ways to focus on your own self-care, focusing on your own physical and mental health, it can deteriorate in the midst of trying to help out everybody else. And if it deteriorates in the middle of that, what the hell are you going to do for yourself? What the hell are you going to do for anybody else? And so, excuse my language, but it's really about, if you can't take care of yourself, remember, you can't do anything for no one else. So you have to find that time, because we got our own personal batteries. If you look at your life as a gas tank, people can drain you and you can go on E real quick. And you got to figure out ways to go into spaces, places, or be around people that's going to find ways to fill your tank up every single day. And you have to do that. And sometimes it can be hard, depending on the day, depending on what's going on with the folks that are around you. And sometimes it can be easy, but you have to be intentional. We as people have to be intentional on making sure that our cup get filled up. Whether you believe in that spiritually or literally, you have to find ways to fill yourself up, because otherwise people will take away from you, and you may not have anything else to give, but folks don't know that because you continue to give. But once you take, people say, give me a second. People want you to refill. People want you to charge up that battery because they know how much you mean not only to them, but you mean to the movement. You mean to their community. You mean to the entire family. So you have to find that time.
I like to say, you can't pour from an empty cup.
You're absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying?
Pastor Ken Like had a whole sermon on that not so long ago.
And it's just a fact. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And something you said earlier when you were talking about like pleasing people, that's hard. It's hard, especially like when you're young, coming into like whatever industry you in, because it's like you feel like you have to try to make everybody happy, and you have to say yes. And then I'm living proof. You get to a point where it's like, okay, now I'm just saying yes to everything. And then people start to take advantage.
Yes.
They start to take advantage of your niceness, start to take advantage of your skill set, not caring about what you got going on. So I think that what your dad
I'm not going to say it's not them not caring, but you haven't set the boundaries.
That's the way to put it.
You haven't set those boundaries, because otherwise, if you don't know I'm taking all this away from you, how in the world am I supposed to know?
I would need like a mic drop sound effect, because you just like that blew my mind. I'm not gonna lie to you. So when you look back at Lil Dave, Lil Dirty.
That was actually that was my name, Lil Dave. My dad's name David, so everybody called me Lil Dave.
So Lil Dave, what advice would you give Lil Dave?
That's a great question, man. And honestly, the same advice that I would give every young black man, brown man, any man in general, right, that's facing adversity, which is don't give up on yourself. There were times, and it's not to say that I wouldn't be where I am. I found my level of adversity and found ways to power through that glass ceiling that you sometimes see hovering over you. Don't give up on yourself, because there are going to be people, who are going to comfort you and just say, it'll be okay. And it will be okay. But you also need to power through it. You also need to understand that, and I think, Assata Shakur has said this, Nelson Mandela has said this, Marianne, I can't remember her last name, has said this, that our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Our greatest fear is what we can actually do and give back, not only to ourselves, but those that are around us. And so never give up. And so, there's two particular, and I'll say one of them, one quote that helped me out, particularly in high school. It was, you all laugh at me because I'm different, but I laugh at you all because you're the same. And that was big for me, because I was doing different stuff. I was doing community work, and people was like, man, you out here over here talking about what we can do. It's like, and now, those same people who were laughing at me look at me now and say, man, I'm so proud of you. Because you did something I never thought that you could do. Matter of fact, this is the last thing I thought you would be doing, Dirty. And I've heard that conversation. And so, never give up on yourself. And though I didn't, the thing is that there are times I did. And that's when I go back and talk about that same quote that Reggie used to say when he used to tell me, man, you start so much stuff, but you never finished anything. And so I tie those two together now, because the only reason why I stopped finishing was because I stopped believing that I could do the work. Stop believing that it was my job and I was the person, who was supposed to do this work. And so anybody out there, it doesn't matter how many times you fall. You don't try to get back up. You do get back up. And so, we can sit there and say, we tried. No, we have to sometimes double our failure rate in order to make sure we are as successful as we want to be. Because when I look at the Lil Waynes and Jay-Z's, when I look at, the Elon Musk, when I look at the Bill Gates, how many times did they fail? How many times did somebody say, man, you might as well give up right now, right? But they said, you know what, I'm going to power through. You know what, I ain't listening to what you got to say. And that's the one thing that I would want to go back and tell myself, because I can only imagine where else I would be right now if I believed in myself at this moment if I did when I was 18, 19, 21 years old.
And I noticed, I remember I was watching, I don't know what I was watching. I was watching something I don't know if it was Obama talking or something. But I realized the difference between people who are successful and people who are not is that belief in themselves, that self-belief, that unwavering self-belief. Like that belief that in yourself that no matter what is going to happen, I don't care what. And I think that because most people, they focus on the how. So like they get so stumped because they have a dream, but they don't know how they go get to it. So they just push it to the side. You got to say, forget the how, because like the how is going to take care of itself, though. As long as you are putting in the work, as long as you are, bro, if you are taking,
you are the how, though.
You are the how. Like if I'm trying to get to across the street, I have to take those steps to get across the street.
Yeah.
That's how I got across the street. I took the steps. It's the same exact thing with anything.
They may not be at the strides that you wanted.
Exactly.
But it may be those baby steps, right? And maybe you had to crawl first, right? And at the end of the day, the question is not how you got there, but the question is why you got there. And because a lot of times we want to figure out the how, but sometimes that's just getting too deep into the weeds to where you forget why you even did this in the first place. Because that's the most important question to answer. It's not necessarily the how. It's why did you do it? And it's your drive. It's that belief in yourself is the real how. And as long as we have that, I think we'll be able to do abundant things in places like the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, as long as people believe in themselves.
Man, so before I get to this segment I like to call This or That, where I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Basically, I'm going to give you 2 options and you'll pick which one you want. I want to ask one question. Do you think there's a meaning to life? And if so, what is it?
The meaning is there a meaning to life? I absolutely believe there's a meaning to life. I think we all have purpose. I do believe that we all have purpose. The question is what are we going to believe our purpose is? So I believe that my meaning of life, my purpose in life is to give back. Again, like that's all I know how to do is to give back, because I wouldn't be where I am today if folks didn't believe in me and my potential. And so because of that, the meaning of life is just to make sure that we continue to be on earth, that we continue not only the human race, but we continue to give each other enough knowledge and enough wisdom to where you don't have to figure out how to bump your head and learn from it. You can learn from my own mistakes. Yes. And so my meaning for life is really just to continue to give back and make sure that, now being a father, that my 3 daughters not only have the same, but more opportunity than I had where I was growing up.
Oh, man, love it, love it, love it. Now I'd like to move to a segment I call This or That. I just broke it down. I'm not going to elaborate, though. I'm going to give you 2 options, but I'm not going to elaborate.
Let's see where this goes.
You got to pick and then tell me why you pick it. First one, equality or equity?
Equity.
Why?
If I was a billionaire and you was poor, what's equal is to give each other $1. And that's not fair, right? We have to look at equity because not everybody is born at the same first base, second base, third base. And so equity is much different. Equity is looking at each individual circumstances and trying to figure out how do you create a pathway based off of those circumstances. Because equality is going to give everybody the exact same, and giving everybody the exact same is not necessarily what's great for our country.
I completely agree. The way I look at it, I was talking to my friends and I was like, think of it like this. You have an intellectually challenged student and you have an honor student. You are not going to equality would be putting an intellectually challenged student and an honor student in honors class.
Yeah, yep.
No, like
That's not gonna work.
That's equality. That's not gonna work. We need to divvy up the resources and give the people give people the necessary resources that they specifically need for them in order to
You know, another way that I explain this is that when we want equality, that's when we take from other folks. When we want equity, we give to other folks.
Exactly. Beautiful way to put it. So we agree on that one.
Yeah.
Next one. Fame or influence?
Influence.
Why?
The word itself, right? like fame doesn't get you anything.
Yes.
You know, people would know who you are, but they don't necessarily mean that they listening to who you are. And so influence means more because I have the ability to plant the seed in the minds and be able to see it grow. Influence gives us the ability to affect change. Fame gives us the ability to be the face of something. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't give you any credibility.
I agree. I mean, fame is absolutely fame is cool. Like if you want it, you know what I'm saying? But influence, bro, I would rather be the person that inspired or influenced somebody to the next great person. Like what Tupac said, I might not change the world, but I might spark the brain that will.
I was gonna say that at first, but I was like, I ain't gonna do that.
Like, dog, like that quote, bro. Like,
but that's a great quote.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's like growing from concrete, like the rose that grew from concrete. Like, dude, I just sit and I think about that. Like,
really you're too young to be talking about some Tupac now.
I go back, like, bro, my favorite artist, Michael Jackson. I like the old Stevie Wonder. I like all the old school. Me and my brother, he put me onto a lot of it. So, man, that's what I like. So, no, we agree on that one too. Last one for this or that. Change or consistency?
Ooh.
It's a tough one. It's the tough. That's why I saved it for last, because it's the toughest one.
Ooh, neither.
Oh, that okay? No, you definitely got to explain now.
Because the word that I want to go with is improvements.
Okay.
You know, change. Well, one, consistency means that something has to be going right, right? And not everything is always right. And there could be good things and bad things that come out of consistency, right? Because I could consistently, as a black man, still be in slavery, right? Mm-hmm. Consistently still have the right not to vote. And the reason why I say change as well is because sometimes we talk about change, but, you know, change it from what if I never understood why it was that in the first place? You know, I can say that I want to change, change opportunities and change things for black people, but am I changing it or am I trying to improve it? And that's why I say neither, and I'd rather go with improving, because improvement gives me the opportunity to want to understand both of those terms and figuring out how to just make things better. Because change doesn't necessarily make things better. Improvements does. Consistency doesn't mean that things are always going to get better or it's going to improve, because consistency, depending on the situation, could be bad or it could be a detriment to me. And so I wouldn't say change or consistency. I would say improvements.
You are a quick thinker. I didn't tell him none of these this or that beforehand. But no, I never looked at it like that. Like, you literally just, because like I was gonna say change because I guess basically because of improvement. Like, the way
because when I look at change, my question is, well, who's changing it?
That's right. Like, I'm not even I never looked at it from that perspective. So no, okay. I guess it's change or consistency or improvement. And I guess improvement. So the last segment of the day, I like to end it off with a deep dive. A deep dive is just when I ask a philosophical question and I just want to get the guest's opinion on what they think. Deep dive for today is, what do you think is today's most challenging problem for society?
Ooh. Today's most challenging.
That's why it's the deep dive, because people got to stop and think.
Acceptance. I think right now you take into account what we've been dealing with the past decade, right? That, we've been talking about, whether or not we accept the LGBTQ plus community. We talk about whether we accept a black man from 53206 to be the county executive, right? And now we're going into a conversation on whether or not the country is going to be accepting a black woman to run this country, right? And so the reason why I say that's probably one of the biggest challenges is because what we accept today may not be what we accept tomorrow. And what we accepted yesterday or didn't accept yesterday, and vice versa. We may not accept or we will accept tomorrow. And so I think that this country has been at a war with what we're going to accept moving forward. And it almost goes back to your change and consistency, right? Like, because we haven't been consistent on what we accept, and we've consistently changed what we accept.
That's the one thing we're consistent on is just changing.
But I don't think that what we haven't accepted is the ideal of America. Because the ideal of America has never changed, right? Because the ideal of America is somewhere is that no matter where you come from, no matter where you come from in this world, no matter what your background is, whether you're a woman or you're a man, no matter who you love, this country will accept you. And I think that has changed based off of who we've had in office. And so for me, the deep dive is actually asking ourselves as people, is that what are we willing to accept? What are we willing to bring into our lives and improve upon? Because if you think about it, everything that we have accepted over the years in this country has actually made us better. It has actually made us stronger. Accepting diversity is the strength of our entire country that we have, compared to everyone else in the entire world. Because we have different races, we have different religions, different creeds, we have different socioeconomic backgrounds, we have difference in the types of people and who they love. We have differences in the type of rural, urban, and suburban neighborhoods you live in, But the question that comes down to every presidential election, every county executive election, every local election is what are we willing to accept? And so I think that, we have a problem with acceptance in this country. And until we solidify on what that really means as a country to accept a people, to accept, whatever it may be, we're going to continuously see that we are not consistent and that we're always changing on what the American people or what the American value is moving forward.
Man, see, my hope is that, because I know everybody be trying to clown on Gen Z. I'm Gen Z. I can't go a day without being here without somebody saying something about
You're
Gen
the youngest.
Z.
Hey, man, I was me when I was a millennial now.
I'm like, goodness gracious. But my hope is that Gen Z, I think that we're a little bit more accepting than the
absolutely
previous,
are.
Generation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So my goal, my hope is that when Gen Z finally come up, get into those positions, hey, the world might be a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Because it's already trending up. It's on that trajectory. So we got to just
see. This is where I would push back, because you said when we get in those positions, you have the voice right now to influence those positions. And the question is the Gen Z population ready to help be the influencers of these voices? Because some people will say that, well, we have to be there. But do you have to be there? Or do you have to influence those who are there to make sure that the voice is heard?
Hey, you just keep opening my mind. I love it because you're just giving me a completely different way of looking at it.
Because y'all are bigger influencers than we were. Because I still, and the reason why I say it, because, think about it. Like, I'm one of those older millennials, right? I'm 38 years old, and I still remember life before Facebook. Oh, yeah. I remember life before we had cell phones, right? Cool. Could you imagine, before we had real video games that people wanted to go out and actually play, no, you had to get your butt outside, and you better go play some tag. you better go play hide and seek, right? And I would say that, that's the one lost art that y'all don't have that we had, to where we were kind of forced. But this is the thing that y'all have that we don't have. Y'all have a much broader global view on life than any of us could have ever had. Because now you're connected to somebody via a telephone, via social media, via X, via Twitter, via Snapchat,
Google,
to where you can learn more than I ever could have imagined. Because it's in the palm of your hand now, and many of us didn't have those opportunities. Man,
I be sitting back thinking, I can't imagine life without no phone. I don't know how. Y'all was getting around without no phone. What were y'all? How do you?
Man,
even
listen,
do
I would tell you
anything?
this: if you spent a year without a phone, you'd be like, this is nice.
Maybe I will, because like, all I know is a phone.
But see, this is what you also know. You know that when you have a phone, right? When was the last time you ignored somebody's phone call?
That's very true.
You can't.
That's very true.
You cannot do that.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we had phones and we didn't have a call ID, right? Like, and again, I'm 38, right? And they didn't have a call ID. So you just had to answer the phone, And so the thing is that like peace of mind is I know of a different level of peace of mind that you would ever understand because I didn't have that level of technology within the first 10 years of me growing up.
That's crazy because it's the generation under me. What's that? What's the generation Alpha or something like that?
Yeah, Alpha.
Oh, it's sad because
that's all they know.
Like I grew up like I had like the flip up, the slide up phone. These little kids, they 1 year old know how to work a whole iPad.
Yeah, man,
so,
listen, man, my 4-year-old she'll hop on YouTube real quick.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, that separation is definitely. But before you get out of here, I do want to ask you, because obviously the breaking news of Joe Biden stepping down and with Kamala becoming, she didn't get.
She being endorsed,
but being endorsed by Biden and other Democrats. What's your take on it?
So I was riding with Biden. I was riding with Biden, and I got to thank him because one, it takes a big person to sit there and say, you know what, I'm about to step aside. And when you think about his tenure, right, 5 decades of working in government. Starting at the county level like myself, becoming one of the, if not one of the youngest United States senators to get elected and serving as both vice president and the president of the United States, that's something to be just honored by and just to say thank you of. But for him to step aside, putting the country first, he says, you know what, I'm about to not only bow out, but I'm about to endorse the first of woman vice presidents. And say that she deserves to be the first black woman to serve this country as the president of the United States is just monumental. It's unprecedented. And so I'm excited, to be honest with you. And, not only me, but my wife, my 3 daughters are extremely excited to be supporting, the Madam Vice President, Kamala Harris, to be the next president of the United States. And I do think that this is going to, inject a level of enthusiasm that we haven't seen in so long here in Milwaukee and across this country. So I'm here for it all. I'm ready for all this smoke that's going to be coming her way. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be riding with her, doing everything that we can to make sure that she is the next president of the United States of America.
When we're talking about influence, we're talking about representation, man, we get a black woman president.
Yeah.
That is just history. You know what I'm saying? And I think it shocked me when that Biden stepped down. But what you said, the new energy, I feel like everybody is re-energized.
Folks came out the woodwork
everybody geek now. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this did definitely add a spark into it. And listen, man, we got a few months, and we gonna see what happens. I hope history is made. I cannot lie to you.
No, ain't no hope. History will be made. And if you want history to be made, I tell folks all the time, it's 3 things that you can do. You can give your time. You can knock on doors. You can make phone calls. You can do what you can to volunteer on the campaign. You can give your talent. Like you utilizing your talent, bringing people and introducing people to topics and subjects folks may not understand, but you utilizing your talent as a producer, as a host to bring information to folks. But the last thing that we also have is we have our treasure. A lot of us may not have the talent, we may not have the time, but we can use our money to speak for us, but to also to inject momentum in a campaign such as this or in any community type event that we want to see, just be successful. And so if you want things to happen in your life, I'm always telling folks and preaching, time, talent, and treasure. Those are the 3 main things that we can give in order to make the greatest impact on the lives of others, but also on ourselves.
Man, oh man, you heard it first. And I know I said last question, but I do want to ask you about Milwaukee becoming potentially an entertainment mecca. Is there any?
Yeah, oh man,
I mean, I was looking at some brochure, and it was like these plans of like building downtown. Like, what's going on?
I mean, so we've been particularly for the past 6 years trying to figure out how do we build a broader spotlight on the city of Milwaukee County. I mean, you've seen that one. DNC was going to be here 2020, upended because of the pandemic. Following year, had a great NBA championship run, Milwaukee Bucks,
Get it.
you know. And then for the 2 years after that, people may not know that we have been actually doing record numbers in tourism right here in the city of Milwaukee, in Milwaukee County. And now we just had, you know, we were just the epicenter of the world with everybody tuning in to see what was happening during the Republican National Convention here. And so our goal is to make sure that we are no longer a pass-through destination. We want you to come here. We want you to understand there's no better place to go in the entire country in the summer than in the Milwaukee. Great lake on a great city. If you're if you live in the southern coast, dealing with the Gulf during the summer, you know you don't want to be there.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to be in Florida in the summertime during
Exactly.
July and August.
It's too hot.
It gets crazy hot, right? And then you think about the East Coast and you're dealing with hurricanes and things of that nature, dealing with the West Coast where they may be dealing with droughts and, you know, the earthquakes that happen. And in some of these places, they have failing utility infrastructure. So if you want to come somewhere and enjoy yourself, you can leave you can leave the West Coast, East Coast, Gulf Coast, and come to the Fresh Coast.
Fresh Coast.
The Fresh Coast
Okay.
right here in Milwaukee, where you can enjoy a great summer. We got the city of festivals, ethnic festivals. We got something for anyone, no matter what background they come from, no matter where in the world they reside. You can come enjoy yourself here. And that's what we want to do here, right here in Milwaukee.
I can't wait for it because I think Milwaukee summers are very underrated.
Very underrated.
And I love the fact that we not prone to natural disasters. I can't, because like I'll be thinking, I'll be like, man, am I gonna move? But dang, if I move, hold on, we might get like
this is going to be a climate safe haven in the future. When you talk about access to drinking water, you know, the Great Lakes is the largest freshwater body in the entire world. So, you know, as we think towards the future, there are going to be more people flocking to the Midwest and places like Wisconsin like ever before.
Shout out Milwaukee, and you heard it right here from basically the face. Thank you, David, so much. Thank you so much for coming by, man, stopping by, chopping it up with me. You did not have to, but you still chose to.
Thank you, man.
And I really appreciate it. I learned. I feel like I'm just a watcher of the podcast because like the keys and the nuggets that I got. I can't wait to start cutting up reels. I can't wait to get going, man.
Well, I appreciate you giving a platform where not only a person can be themselves, but they can talk about the key issues that's going to not only benefit me and my family, but benefit our entire community. So kudos to you, brother.
Man, that's what it's about. Like, just like you, it's all about the community. It's all about uplifting others. Like, I want other people to believe, bro, if Dave can get here, you can get here.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, that's the goal. You accomplished that goal sitting here by being that source of inspiration, by being that light. So I appreciate you. So I'm going to close out. But when I point to you, I just need you to say, we catch them.
All
I'm
right.
going to point to you, just say, we catch them. And you just got done watching another episode of Dreamcatchers Presents the Jason Smith Show, where we don't chase dreams, nah.
We catch them.
We catch them.